Hey, it's Jeff Walker, and I got a great question from a viewer here. This is from Niraj Ramnani, and he writes, "Hey Jeff, love your videos. There are very few people I continue to follow after the initial few weeks. So love hearing that. Glad you're enjoying it, Niraj. Glad you're getting value." So his question is, how can someone take all of the data in their head, in the area of their expertise, and try to design and structure an online program out of it? It seems super overwhelming, especially if you know a lot on that topic. Best regards, Niraj. So this is a great question. It's something I've certainly, fought with in the past. And creating product is not easy. I mean, or let's just say it's work. It's hard work. It can hold us back. And so I want to give you 3 easy steps here to do that will make it a lot easier for you. So the first step is don't do it yourself. In this day and age, one of the great things about the online world, the internet, our connected world, is how easy it is to interact with your community, your tribe, your prospects, your list, however you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. And so, like the first time I created this big, huge home study course, it was back in the days when I was teaching people about the stock market. And I sat down and I wrote 2 big trading manuals about the stock market. And then I recorded all these different videos. And I had a pretty good idea what people wanted because I'd been publishing for a long time, but I wasn't taking the manuals and the videos and running them by people and getting their feedback. And that just made it a lot harder. Going forward, I designed this process that I call the seed launch process. And in the seed launch, it's one of the things I teach in Product Launch Formula. It's you basically do a series of teleseminars or webinars. That's your product. You sell people into this series of teleseminars, and then you do a teleseminar, and in each teleseminar, you're taking questions. Or in between, you're doing surveys and you're taking questions. And it's a lot easier to do it that way. It's a lot easier to take your content, because what happens is we all suffer from this thing we call the curse of knowledge. And the curse of knowledge is this idea that if we're an expert at something, it's really hard to remember what it's like to be a beginner. Really, really hard. And so we end up teaching at this expert level when really most of the people we're teaching to are beginners. And so with that curse of knowledge, it makes product creation really hard. It's exactly what you're talking about, Niraj. And so with that seed launch, or with any type of interactive process where you're putting yourself in front of a group of people, either physically or on the phone or on teleseminars or on webinars, or even in social or on live streaming video, where you're now teaching and interacting and reacting to questions, that makes it a lot easier, much, much easier to create your product and to sort of get out of your own expert head and get more into that beginner's mind. So the second thing to do is this is a really simple thing. Just sit down and look at your topic, your big broad topic, and split it into 5 distinct areas. Just say, okay, what if I had to split this into 5 topics? If I was going to do 5 teleseminars or 5 webinars on it, or 5 coaching calls, what 5 areas would there be? And this is just a way to give you a real broad conceptual way of organizing it. Now, and then often a lot of times you might release your product. It might be in 5 modules or 5 classes. Now, there are some things like, in my main flagship Product Launch Formula, I think we have 7 modules or something like that. I couldn't fit into the 5. But in general, you want to just try to fit into 5, 3 to 5 even. And if you end up with like 12 or 14 main topics that you need to cover, then you probably have more than one product. You don't have to take your entire domain of knowledge and fit it into one product. The reality is, if you're an expert, you probably have more than one product inside of your brain. So split into 5 topics. If you just can't get into 5, you probably have more than one product. And then look at splitting, if that's the case, then look at splitting into more than one product. Now, the third one is, think about this as version 1.0. You don't have to create the perfect product. In fact, don't think about creating the perfect product. That's where you get into that perfect product syndrome that I talk about. And really, perfection is just it's just another name for procrastination. It's just an excuse to procrastinate. It's an excuse to never release your product and put it out there. And the reality is it'll never be perfect. And like Tony Robbins likes to say that perfect is the lowest possible measure that you can have, because if you say I'm only going to release this thing when it's perfect, you're saying I'm not going to release it, I'm not going to put it out into the world. So if you're ready to get your knowledge and your wisdom out in the world, then leave perfection behind and just think about version 1.0, getting your product out there and then getting feedback, putting it out there, and then moving forward. And I think like with my main flagship, product launch formula, I'm probably into my 5th, maybe even 6th full revision now, and I'm getting ready to revise it yet again for my next launch. So think this is version 1.0. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can always make it better. You can always add in extra. In fact, I recently did a course that I called the Seed Launch Deep Dive, and it was where I went really deep on just doing a seed launch, and which is your first launch, your first product. And when I did that, I did it as a series of 5 calls. I like to eat my own cooking. I practice what I preach. So I did it as 5 calls. Well, as it turned out, that very first call, I was doing it a live webinar, and I ended up having some really nasty allergies going on. I was coughing and coughing. I had to keep on muting the mic, and then I'd cough, and then I'd come back, and I'd say three more sentences, and then I'd cough, mute the mic, cough again. And a couple times I forgot to unmute the mic, so I'd go for 2 or 3 minutes where I thought I was teaching, but really it was muted. It was just a sloppy call. It was just an unfortunate situation, but that's what it was. And then the second call, well, I delivered the call, and then sort of after the call, I realized, I thought of a different way I could have taught it that would have been better. So what I did was, after the 5 calls were over, I just sent out an email to everyone and said, hey, I think I'm going to as a little bit of an extra bonus, I'm going to do those first 2 calls again. I'm going to deliver all the content, and then I'm going to take live questions from them. And, it's an extra bonus you're getting. And what was even better is, because I was teaching product creation in the seed launch, I said, just model me. Those weren't the greatest calls I've ever done, so I'm just going to do them over for you. And that's what I did. Remember, it's just version 1.0. You can always make it better. You can always, if you forget to teach something or it doesn't fit in there, make it a bonus, add in a bonus. And so those are your 3 things. First of all, don't do it yourself. Get the feedback from your tribe. Second one is just split into five areas, 5 big areas, and then start drilling down from there. And the third one is just remember, this is version 1.0. You can always make it better. So I'm Jeff Walker. If you're watching this anywhere else besides jeffwalker.com, head on over there, scroll down, leave a comment, give me a share on social, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, just give me some kind of reaction, and let's go get them this week.